Hello, my name is Mark Nejma. Today is May 30th, the day before Memorial Day, and I'm going to read you the news as I see it. Today, the Indy 500 race will begin with about 135,000 participants. It will be interesting to see how many people are wearing masks. This seems to be a major milestone for so many people to come together in a NASCAR or actually Indy race, uh, camping out in the center fields, as well as just enjoying the company of their neighbors. Uh, in other places around the country, New York City, the arts community, actually the base of the left, will open Broadway shows with masks on. Uh, this is a far difference than what we'll probably see at the Indy races, but we'll have to take a close look at the video that comes from Indianapolis to see the comparison and the ideology. Yesterday, I happened to have been visiting my daughter at her downtown Manhattan apartment building, and no, I was not wearing a mask. I stepped onto an elevator, and I was kicked off by a gentleman, probably around my age, a little older. Said, "I don't want you in my elevator if you're not wearing a mask." I politely stepped off the elevator, took another one. Uh, Last year, it was claimed that the virus could have come out of the Wuhan lab in China. I recall the virus even being called the Wuhan virus. And it seemed as if so many people were very upset about that because they thought that, wow, we were blaming China. On Facebook and Twitter and other places, if you even mentioned Wuhan, your tweet or your post was deleted from Facebook. You know, these are the people that tell us what we can say, even though they take our data and make lots of money from it. We get kicked off for saying whatever we think it might be true, but they want to make sure that they tell us what is true, or at least promote the people that say what they want us to say. And anyway, they've kicked us off. Now all of a sudden, Facebook is backtracking, as I reported yesterday. And in the meantime, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Gottlieb from CNBC has some mud on their faces. For me, as I mentioned yesterday, I think we need to call out these people and really look into what they are doing. I'm still extremely upset about the AIDS virus and where that could have come from. Did it come from a lab? I'd like to know. It was a terrible disease. It is a terrible disease, and it still exists. If things like the virus, COVID-19, can come from a lab, then quite frankly, the AIDS virus may have come from a lab, and we need to know. We need to know what the truth is. Hey, but that's Fauci and Gottlieb. They've got to live with themselves. In Colombia, 14 people have died since government protests. Most of the protests have been about lockdowns and about the deaths from COVID-19. People want answers there too. 2 people were killed outside, or actually inside, a pool hall last night as 3 men in a white van drove up, took out assault weapons, according to police, and handguns and started firing into the crowd. The police chief there claims that this was a targeted hit. I think it's important that we find out what type of music it was, who was performing, and whether gangs were involved. Music, as we know, particularly in the hip-hop era or the rap era, competitors have become violent against one another. We need to focus on what is happening, what is the cause. We don't need to focus on gun control, which is what most of the news is reporting, is that this is another heinous act of gun violence. Actually, it sounds like to me like it's a heinous act of people that hate people, not guns that hate people. Yes, I'm for the Second Amendment. In other news, I'm going to read you something here. As a hiker, as an avid hiker, as a person that runs a group of about 4,700 people that have decided to get outside, breathe fresh air, and exercise. And we did exercise through the entire pandemic, even though we were told not to do so without masks. We did without masks. We hiked without masks plenty of times in Vegas, in New Jersey, in New York. We hiked a lot. Matter of fact, we hiked twice a week. And maybe we saved our own lives. Myself, being with heart disease, severe heart disease, living with a defibrillator, I got out and I hiked about 15 miles a week. Now, let me read you something about what they're saying about the coronavirus. And I want you to judge for yourself what you think could have brought on more deaths by the governments around the country telling us to stay home, to stay inside, to wear masks. It never made sense to me. I'm just a roofer, but I think it was pretty smart to go hiking. Let me read this. Age remains the biggest risk for becoming seriously ill with COVID, with more than 80% of COVID deaths occurring in people over the age of 65. As we get older, our muscles become weaker and the anatomy of our lungs changes. This causes them to become less efficient when it comes to moving air and mucus out of the body, resulting in lowering of the defense system that our lungs and immune systems can provide. Hey, you gotta breathe heavy, hence hiking, walking, being outside, keeping a mask off. It is thought the immune system of older people, those over 65, is slower to respond to the virus, leading to a longer period of infection and inflammation as a result of the disease. This prolonged period also allows the virus to replicate and overwhelm the immune system and internal organs, resulting in poorer outcomes. Sitting on your asses is not going to help. Breathe heavily. Hike, walk, exercise, bike. And if you didn't listen to the politicians about wearing a mask while you were doing that, you probably are still alive. But certain underlying health conditions known as comorbidities also increase your risk of becoming seriously ill as a result of catching COVID-19. Serious illness could mean a person will need hospitalization, intensive care, or a ventilator to help them breathe, or they may even die. Well, we're still talking about the pandemic, but I'm telling you right now, if you were thinking on your feet, and if you were out there exercising, and if you were disobeying civilly by exercising outside, smart person. That's the news for today. Today is May 30th. Happy pre-day of Memorial Day. It's terrible weather here in New Jersey. I'll be heading home to Florida, my new home, Clearwater, Florida. See ya, Jersey. Have a great day.